truck out here, and I'm gonna start working on some rust repair. You can see there's some rust here. Rust on the front of the doors, fender, rockers, how it usually is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take these, blow them out, chip out all the loose shit, and coat them with some 415. Just to keep it, stop it from rusting quite as bad, quite as fast. And since it's a rat rod, I got some old scrap steel. Got a just drop that I have from various projects, whatever. And I'm gonna actually take these and make some nice rolls in it with my Metalwork bead roller, and basically just rivet it on there. So it kind of looks like, I don't know what you want to call them. Kind of reminds me of like if you have like a box and then you reinforce the corners. That's kind of what it reminds me of. This side's a little bit worse. I'm gonna do something with the hood also. You can see it's got this rust through on this side than the hood, and then it's also got some weird rust through here on the door handle. There's pretty much no rocker left on this side, you see that? And it's just not real hunky-dory, not SEMA approved, even though it's not technically the, I guess, the proper way to do it. It'll work for the next 10 years, so it'll be fine for me. It's a prime example of how good Bondo is to cover shit. This here was solid Bondo. It's like an inch thick right there. Oh yeah, there's like one little piece of metal in there. What the fuck? I started off with making a template with some tag board, and since each side on this truck is the same, I can just do the reverse of this. So I can just take this and flip it over on another piece of metal and do the opposite bends, and it should work the same way. Here I have a panel laid out. You can see I don't have any bends on it yet, and that will allow me to run it through the bead roller without any sort of restrictions. It takes a little bit more planning, but you can see here that I have some cross hatching in here, or some diagonal lines, and then I was going to add another diagonal line going this direction across the whole thing, but I've decided it would be too busy, so I'm just going to see how it looks with just these lines going this direction. So the red is the bead roll lines, and then that is going to be with the tipping die and the large groove roller, and then the black line around that right here nearest to the red is going to be a soft offset, and then the rest of the lines are bend lines and cut lines. So here I have the bead rolls and the offset. Looks alright. I mean, it looks pretty good, but I'm not sure it's exactly what I was going for. But it turned out nice. You can see that when you do that soft offset, if you have it all lined up right, the lines end pretty much right on the nuts. So now that I have that done, I can take and bend my other bends. So I'm working on the C-10 here, and you can see I'm working on this fender patch. I have this made here. But the one thing that a lot of people don't do is consider the curve. See, there's a curve to this body piece here, and when you add this bend, there's no way you're going to be able to curve it without doing relief cuts or using a Metalwork shrinker stretcher. Actually, you can use any brand, but I have Metalwork. I ordered mine through Metalwork, and I don't think I've had an opportunity to show you guys how these work. I just got this in a vise for now. I got to make a base and whatnot, but what this does, you can see in there there's jaws. And when you press down, this one's a shrinker, it actually shrinks the metal so you can get a curve to it. So if you shrink the metal right here, it's going to curve, you know, dramatic. It's going to curve like this. The edge is going to curve like this. It's hard to explain, but I will go ahead and do that. Notice all the Yukon energy drinks. Keeping all my cans. So I have this here. Again, I'm trying to curve this flange. So all I gotta do is open this up. Stick that in there. Put some weight on it. Now you can see that actually has curve to it because it shrunk the metal on the outside here, in turn forcing this to curve. It's a pretty awesome tool. It's cool how that works. So this is a nice little quilted pattern that I did here. Laid it on the back. I used the tipping detail die and a large groove roller, and then I used a soft offset. You can see some of these edges got a little bit messed up from my planishing hammer when I was trying to pound all this flat because it got distorted, but it'll be patinaed, so that's something you won't really see anyways. Here I made a fancy rocker panel cover for the passenger side. It's got holes riveted in it. Some bead rolls, or a soft offset I should say. Looks pretty cool. This is aluminum. This is the back side and this is the front side. So it's just going to be placed over and riveted over the original rocker, and I actually made it a ½ an inch longer because if you see here, originally, well you probably can't tell, but originally there's a pinch weld here. And it doesn't make the truck look quite as low. Even though the pinch weld is the lowest point, the rocker doesn't go all the way down. So if you extend the rocker all the way down, level with the original pinch weld, it lines up with the box there, so you can see the box is actually lower than the cab by ½ an inch, even though the body lines line up. So I extended this a ½ an inch. It'll actually make the truck look lower. So that's that. And then I gotta add a little extension here because I sort of misfit this piece. My template must have been a little bit off. So I made it just a touch wide. So in order to have it fit tight here and here, I actually had to push it up more than I expected because that's what happened. So I'm just gonna make the best of it and make it work. So I'm gonna add like a little sort of extension on there, a little artistic extension, and extend it into the rocker. Now I used aluminum here because it's all I had for material. This is probably maybe 20 gauge aluminum. It's pretty strong now that it's got some bends and bead rolls in it. And again, I use my Mittler Bros Jamie Jordan Signature Series bead roller and a soft offset die. For bead rolling, I should mention that you should use a some kind of grinder or something to deburr the edges. This one I have an Empire Abrasives 40 grit pad on it just to clean up the edges a little bit so you don't slice your fingers, because when it's running through the machine you're tempted to run your finger around the edge while it's moving. And I also recommend wearing gloves. And then once that's done, you pop the holes, and I use just my drill here with an 1/8 inch double-sided drill bit. So if one side gets dull, you can just flip it over to the other side and just drill through the holes that are popped. And then once you get the first hole drilled, you use a cleco to hold the panel in place and then work your way around the panel. So those are some important tools to have right there. I prefer Milwaukee, but you could probably get away with any brand. Honestly, if you're going to buy power tools, just invest in the Milwaukee, save up some money, get the better tools. These are a lot better than the Craftsman that I've had in the past. And they have a bunch of tools that use the same battery, so it's really actually quite economical once you got the batteries. Alright, so in the past I've had a few people tell me how, or ask me how I do this fake rust patina type look. You can see that looks pretty cool, like a rust sort of. And I'm just going to tell you, I use these colors. Oops. Nice thing about doing this, panels, if you drop them or mess them up, then it just adds to the flavor. I'm not actually going to show you how I do this because it's kind of my secret and I don't really want it to be duplicated super easily. But I do some stuff with these paints. Some Empire Abrasive scuff pad or whatever the hell they call it. Some rags, you can see there's paint on there, hint hint. And some sandpaper. So I line thinner and I start with the brown primer. So that's that, there's the colors. 415 top coat on top to give it some depth. And there you go. Turns out like this.